Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Spartan Tailgate podcast, a second edition for the Michigan Rivalry Week. I am Chris Vanini, trying to properly do introductions better, and I'm joined, as always, by Spartan Tailgate lead writer, Dan Kilbridge. Dan, how you doing?
Doing well. Not a lot has changed since our last podcast, but I did get a haircut today, so that was new and exciting.
Did it come out? How's it look?
Looks great. Wasn't my favorite experience, but it was good. It's a good haircut. I have this thing. I know what it is, but like I've never had a female cut my hair where she didn't just bring up her boyfriend unsolicited within like 30 seconds. I'll take a 2 on top. Oh, okay. My boyfriend also gets haircuts.
That's weird.
Just immediately trying to shut me down before. Right. Yeah, like before anything could even be construed as me trying to ask her out, they just shut me down.
So we're here recording a second podcast for this week on short notice because we recorded one, obviously, yesterday with Steve Lorenz of Wolverine 24/7, and we liked it. It was good, a lot of good detail on the game, what to expect. Went a little bit long, and we didn't want it to go on for, hour and a half, 2 hours. So we decided kind of at the last minute to create a new one with just me and Dan here talking more about the MSU side of things, because I'm sure it might have been a little Michigan heavy for you guys, but we wanted to make it a little more unique and special, I guess, for Rivalry Week, because it's a big game, and maybe some of you learn some things about Michigan, what they do, what's been good, what's been bad. Maybe you didn't. Maybe because they're 3-4, you don't really care as compared to years past. But I thought it was a real good conversation. But we wanted to make sure we hit some MSU stuff that maybe we didn't yesterday. So that's what we're going to do here. Probably figure go for 20 minutes, half hour. Maybe we'll go longer if we skew off into some tangents. Appreciate the feedback you guys are giving us on the podcast. Like those introductions. I just get so excited to get into talking that I end up skipping over a lot of things.
The funny thing was someone on there was like, yeah, like the content's great, keep up with the content, but like the intros and everything, it sort of sounds amateur. And I don't mean this as a dig against that person, but we are the definition of amateurs when it comes to podcasting. So if you're wondering why it sounds like an amateur operation, that's because it absolutely is an amateur operation. And this isn't something that 24/7 or Spartan Tailgate has asked us to do. We're sort of doing it on our own. And so at this point, kind of putting our own money into it, probably unlikely, but I don't know. Maybe we could start one of those, like Kickstarter, or is that what it's called?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to give us any money to talk.
Well, maybe a couple beer cans or something at the very least to get something. So just think about it for a while. Let it simmer and see.
Yeah, I mean, we're not interested in buying any expensive headphones or mics to go along with this. I use my iPhone headphones with the mic on it. Dan uses some headphones along with his computer mic. I slur my speech anyway. I don't know if a nice mic's going to make me sound much better, but I try to come through nice and clear. So it is amateur, but we are trying to get better, and we do appreciate the feedback because we do want to make this better and more enjoyable to listen to, because that's the whole point of doing this. So if any other feedback such as that, feel free to let us know. It's greatly appreciated as we try to make this better. So we turn again towards Saturday. Before I do that, before I get into that, one more thing I always got to make sure I do in my intros is plug 24/7 Sports and the VIP access, where you will not get any better recruiting or inside information. You'll not get any better news anywhere else. We put up some more Red Cedar rumblings today. I think anybody who reads that gets a lot of information out of that. With it being Michigan week, big recruiting weekend, you want all the latest on the big names coming to you signing for the game, you're going to get it with the VIP access to 24/7 Sports. highly recommend you do that. You can try the 30-day free trial. So go do that. So now we turn our attention toward Michigan this Saturday, 3:30 ABC. Spartans come in at 6-1. Wolverines come in at 3-4, reeling quite a bit. MSU's favored by about 17 points, which, as I just read, appears to be the highest they've ever been favored, more than about 13.5 back in 1966 when MSU.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've never even been favored by more than 4.5 under D'Antonio, so this is totally unprecedented.
So yeah, I mean, to get into MSU here, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I guess, Dan, we'll start with the offense. What do you think MSU needs to do? What do you think they're going to try to do? I know this is looking like one of the most prolific offenses in school history up to this point. But Michigan's got a defense that numbers have been pretty good, but they gave up 400 passing yards at Rutgers, kind of hit and miss, but they have some talent there. What offensively, when MSU has the ball, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some plays to be made in the air. Michigan's secondary is fine, but they're not anything that Connor Cook hasn't seen before. I think Nebraska's secondary is better. Oregon's secondary is probably better, definitely better, I would say. So I think that they're going to look to be aggressive, but also got to run the ball in this rivalry, as I wrote about today. And one thing I didn't realize, Michigan State has more than doubled Michigan's rushing total in the last, in the last 6 years. Michigan State has 1,080 rushing yards, and Michigan has 471. I know Rich Rodriguez didn't focus on running the ball all that much, and maybe that's why he never beat the Spartans. But
he just kind of ran in different ways, and it was never really to get the running going against MSU or against good opponents, really.
Sure, and that's what can hurt you in this game. And I think Michigan State, I think they need to, because like we've said, this is a good front seven. They're ranked 4th in the nation in rush defense. And I think while Michigan State certainly wants to run between the tackles, they're going to do more of the end-around stuff than we've seen in recent weeks. I think they showed a lot of it against Wyoming, which was a similar scheme to Michigan's defense, just nowhere near as talented. And I think maybe what we saw in that Eastern Michigan game and the Wyoming game with all the end-around stuff, maybe that was to get some extra work in, shelf it for a little bit. We haven't seen as much of it in recent weeks. And this is a game where I think they go back to it hard because, like we said, Michigan's talented up front, and I think they want to keep them guessing on their toes and show them something that they haven't seen before because, Michigan has a new offensive coordinator this year, but that end-around stuff that they showed earlier in the year was pretty much brand new for Michigan State in terms of the way they were getting the ball to their receivers. So I think we'll see a lot of that, and I think if they're successful with that early, that opens up the more traditional running late in the game.
Right, and stat was kind of going around today, Thursday, that up until the final drive of last year, MSU was running for, I think, about less than 2 yards per carry. They were not running the ball much at all until that final drive when they broke off some big runs. But like you said, this year they have more elements to the running game than they have before, where they're not just going to keep running it up the gut if something's not working. They'll get it to the outside. And what's been most interesting to me is not only are they incorporating a lot of jet sweeps, they're doing it with a lot of different players, whether it be Mumfree, Shelton, Kings, Burbridge. I've been surprised to see Aaron Burbridge get so many carries in this style. He seems to either get a big gain or kind of get nothing. But anybody who's out there now can get the ball in a sweep, whereas opposed to a year ago, they pretty much left it up to R.J. Shelton. So I think MSU's going to want to move that Michigan defense side to side to open up what power run up the middle, where they've been using Jeremy Langford, Nick Hill, and Delton Williams when the game kind of gets out of hand. Passing game-wise, it doesn't appear Jabril Peppers will play. Say what you will about being a 5-star recruit and all that jazz. He had shown early on to at least be a pretty decent player.
He was,
And
but the media coverage was a little
of
much. I mean,
course, of course,
you
of
know,
course.
you got people tweeting out like Jabril Peppers just took a sip of orange Gatorade like throughout the entire game. It was just nonstop, and
24/7 put up a post today or yesterday. Who has been the most productive five-star player out there? Malik McDowell's on the list. Jabril Peppers is on the list, and actually included in the photo, which I'm sure
really,
some of you didn't like.
well, how many games did he play? I mean, he was healthy
I think he played 3 games, about 6 quarters or so, I believe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he looked fine,
but in an offense, against MSU, any defensive back you can have. He was probably a slot guy anyway. Example. Us talking about it for so long is an example of how whatever this is. But anyway, he's not there. That should help MSU's passing game a bit. The weather is supposed to be pretty good. Looks like 60s down to the 40s as the night goes on. Not supposed to rain at all. Might be a little bit windy, but the passing game should be able to move a bit more than maybe a year ago when it was raining and freezing. So that's good news for Cook in the passing game. Now, when it comes to that passing game, Connor Cook has thrown an interception in I think 3 straight games, but Michigan only has I think 3 turnovers as a defense, which is an incredibly low amount of turnovers forced when you compare it to what they were doing early on in Hoke's tenure. I think Cook taking care of the ball is one of the most important keys to this game, not giving Michigan any short fields or any help on offense to an offense that is struggling quite a bit to move the ball.
Yeah, and if you, when you look back at last year's game, that's true. The offense really wasn't that good against Michigan. The defense kind of sparked everything, but at the same point, that was not even close to the Michigan State offense we saw against Ohio State and Stanford at the end of the year. And I asked Dave Warner about that yesterday, and he said that was during, what did he say? He said that was sort of early in our turnaround phase. And so I think we've come a long way, but it's still going to be a challenge, is what he said. And I agree with that. It's not going to be easy, but at the same time, they are better suited to face this defense now than they were a year ago. And I think Cook always seems to play his best on the biggest stage. I mean, he played really well in that Ohio State game. Save one of the worst pick sixes I've ever seen against Stanford. Played pretty good there.
That play, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as I think it's been portrayed because his hand was hit when he threw the ball. It wasn't he just dumped it into the guy's hands. It looked like it. It took quite a few replays to kind of see that it happened. Either way, it was a bad throw. And was that on a screen pass? I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. I'm not sure because I know they've been terrible at doing screen passes. But his arm kind of got hit, and that's why it went right to the guy. But he bounced back on the biggest stage and drove him right back down for a touchdown after that, obviously.
Yep, and so I think he'll be good. I don't know. I think this is going to be. I think it seems silly, but it's almost like sort of predetermined what Michigan's offense can and cannot do. And I think, I certainly don't see them scoring more than. Well, you had a pretty high. You had them at what, 20?
I actually did. I kind of went outside the box with this pick because, I don't know, maybe I just felt like doing something different. But I went with a 38-24 score with those 24 points coming with help of a Michigan State turnover or 2. But I think they could break a big play or 2 for a touchdown as MSU has been prone to allow. And if the safeties continue to miss tackles like they have, not a good look. We talked about this yesterday. If I was Michigan's offense, I would spread it out, 3-4 receivers, maybe you have maybe even Jake Butt split out wide. And just throw things to the flat, throw some screens. get them moving outside, then hit him in the middle. I'd keep Devin Funchess in the slot because MSU is not going to match up with him. They're going to play their base defense. So keep Funchess your only notable receiver. Keep him away from those two cornerbacks and have him attack the linebackers and safeties, which he has the size and speed to do. Seems like a common sense thing to me. Whether or not they go through with it, I don't know. Last year, it seemed Michigan was more about the max protect, wait for hopefully get enough time for some long routes to develop and chuck it, and it didn't work at all. Obviously, a new coordinator this time around. It'll be interesting to see if Nussmeier has anything different up his sleeve. MSU seem to expect that he will.
Yeah, I guess they sort of, that's what they said. I mean, Narduzzi went back and looked at every trick play that Nussmeier ran at Alabama, kind of get a feel for what that's like. But I don't know. I mean, I guess me personally, I would be shocked if Michigan scores more than 17 in this one. I mean, we've seen Michigan State give up big plays to Indiana and Purdue, and on one hand that's concerning, but on the other hand, Indiana and Purdue are better offenses than Michigan right now. I mean, I don't think.
I don't know about it with Xander Diamant.
No, not with Xander Diamant, no. But
beforehand, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan doesn't have a.
But even Purdue, no one I mean, credit. Part of that is Purdue's offense with Appleby has apparently the last two games been better than even early in the year and better than people predicted.
Right. Yep.
But it's still not at all a talented offense.
No, not talented, but they're doing better, and they're averaging a touchdown more than Michigan per game. And so, I don't know. I mean, Tevin Coleman's a hell of a player, and the reverse was just a weird thing where three guys missed tackles.
Right, and that's the thing. I don't even think giving up 24 points would constitute, a bad game or even big numbers, but
I think it would in this one. I think 24 against Michigan's a bad game.
If it's a pick six, if it's an interception with a 20-yard field and you get a touchdown,
sure.
and you have a run or a short pass breaks free for 50 yards for a touchdown, those are the kind of when I say 24 points, that's how they would be getting there. It wouldn't be 500 yards of offense moving up and down the field.
Right. Yeah. So I guess I'd be shocked if Michigan's offense.
And that's fair. I mean,
produces more than 17 points.
My pick's kind of out there. I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to be different. I don't know. Stand out.
It's always a good place to be. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to see because like we talked about, like last year, just Devin Gardner. I mean, they were sending him out. He was like a kamikaze pilot dropping back in the pocket. He had no chance.
With what Denard Robinson dealt with in 2011, I didn't think I'd see a dominating performance like that for a while in this rivalry, and then 2 years later, Devin Gardner got beaten to a pulp even more than Robinson did.
Yeah.
And in both cases, both quarterbacks left the game sort of due to injury.
And I don't think Devin Gardner's been the same since then. I mean, he was talked about as a really good quarterback going into the year, but to me, I just aside from that Ohio State game.
Who said Devin Gardner was a good quarterback?
I can't. Somebody. I can't remember. Something on Twitter. I don't know. It's escaping me right now. But I think that game really. It's just when you are beaten up like that and sent back there with no max protect or anything like that. That I think mentally even might have damaged him more than physically. It's just you get gun shy after that, and I don't know that he's been the same quarterback since that game.
And he's been looking at the line of scrimmage real quickly in this game, and I do expect MSU to bring a lot of blitzes right off the bat. Last week against Indiana, we weren't so sure because of how quickly that offense tries to get the ball out. But I think this week, absolutely, you're going to see MSU dialing up the blitzes because for years they've worked and they haven't been able to stop them, and Michigan's offensive line hasn't shown any ability to stop them. So I would expect that to be the case again.
Yep, and Narduzzi, we found out yesterday, takes this game very personally after his children were made fun. He made sure to point out that it was Hazlitt Public Schools, too. I like that. Being an East Lansing grad, screw you, Vikings. So that was that was interesting. Basically, for those who didn't read it, he said that his kids came home the Monday after they lost to Michigan in 2007, which coincidentally is the only game under D'Antonio where the rushing battle has not determined the winner. Michigan State actually outrushed Michigan in that one, but didn't come away with the win. And I just remember, I remember walking out of the stadium that day, and everyone was doing the "It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine" chant.
Yeah, I remember seeing a banner, "Still Arrogant," in the Michigan section.
I remember just thinking, Mike, they're never going to beat them again. It's never going to happen. They had another 10-point lead in the fourth quarter and kaput. But no, anyways, so Narduzzi's kids basically went to school and like teachers were making fun of him and like someone, this may be embellished on Narduzzi's part, but like kids were telling him that it was their dad's fault that they lost and stuff, and so he was like, yeah, that got personal for me real quick, and he never holds back any punches in this game, and there's no question this is probably his favorite day of the year and the day that he's been most successful.
I wonder if 2009 made Notre Dame, Central Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota all personal games for him. That was when it was at its zenith.
Oh yeah, that was like I tweeted out this week. There was a Fire Pat Narduzzi blog spot. Is it still
there?
Yeah. No, you didn't see it? No, it's great.
No, I didn't see your tweet.
There were like two entries. One was just like coming soon, and it was blank, and then there was some gibberish about the Wisconsin game, and yada. But there's these comments. There's so many funny comments. One of them is like,
here's a headline: different opponent, same Swiss cheese defense. Wisconsin 38, Michigan State 30.
Mm-hmm. And there's like one comment in there like, he needs to be fired, no question. And if D'Antonio is too loyal to Narduzzi, then D'Antonio needs to go too. And then, I don't know. Those are funny.
I'm reading this right now.
That's fascinating stuff.
They also run an offense, the spread that Narduzzi and company have not shown they can stop, at least not this year. He did say at least not this year. He did leave it open there, and they did.
A little more rational.
Oh yeah, here's the subtitle for the website. Fire Pat Narduzzi. The man has got to go. He does not make in-game adjustments. He does not make out-of-game adjustments. He does not prepare his players. He needs to be let go immediately. And if there's one thing we know about Pat Narduzzi, he does not make in-game adjustments.
No, never. Absolutely not. I can't even think of an example.
He basically just comes.
I don't know how they've won with him.
I know he just comes down to the field at halftime because he wants a better view of the game.
Yeah, he's a glorified water boy. Let's be serious here.
Yeah. So remember this site if he's a head coach next year. Maybe this person would be able to sell the URL.
I'm really disappointed because the guy who started it is called his little handle Shooter McGavin, and you know what? I don't think Shooter would stand for that kind of behavior.
Yeah. So we talked about our game picks yesterday. What was your final score again?
I think I said 31-13. I'm feeling good with that.
Okay. Yeah, and I went 38-24 for reasons we've talked about. Before we get to...
So we got one cover and one no cover.
Yeah, before we get to a couple of Big Ten picks, covered a lot of the reader questions yesterday, but I did get one question that was in all caps, uniforms, question mark. My guess is that they would just break out the green pants look again. That seems to have become their go-to, their big game look. I don't know if the white yoke shoulder jersey is really going to come out much more.
I think those are done, right? I don't
think D'Antonio is a big fan of those.
I think they're done.
Robinson brought that up when he didn't like them. And they seem to be gone on the road, too. They've worn the all-white for 2 straight weeks, or for 2 straight instances, and
it's been every game. They haven't worn the yokes. They went all the way to Oregon too. I think those are.
No, it was Oregon and Indiana because they were in the green at Purdue.
Oh, that's right. But yeah, no, I think those are gone.
Yeah, maybe.
So for this game, I would agree with you. Yeah, I think all green pants. I just think if Nike was going to do something crazy for him this season, they would have done it for the Oregon game.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true too. What what was my question? I just forgot what I was gonna say. What?
Tell you, while we've got some dead air, there was a historic moment during the podcast yesterday. I was able to take a bathroom break, which was outstanding. I stuck it in there real quick. I picked my spot because I'm always worried that during one of these things I'm going to have to go to the bathroom and it's just going to be Vanini talking about Monday Night Raw for like 3 minutes while I'm off. And last night I was able to sneak it in with Steve having something to say, so that worked out really well.
Do you remember what part it was at?
No, and I was really hoping that there wasn't just what do you think about that, Dan? And then silence. No, I don't remember exactly when it was.
Okay, well, I don't remember my question. I don't know why, but
all right. Well, should we do?
I think it'll be.
Should we do Big Ten picks?
I think we'll see all green from MSU. I think you'll see the typical white from Michigan. No bumblebees this time around. So yeah,
Adidas. What?
So yeah, Big Ten here. Thought this could be. It's an interesting week for the Big Ten because they do have 2 high-profile games that get the ABC treatment. So the top 2 teams in the league will have a chance to show themselves off a bit. You've got MSU at 3:30, and that's on ABC, and that's followed by Penn State hosting Ohio State. Penn State comes in at 4-2, and the most pessimistic 4-2 fan base you'll ever see. After that Michigan loss, Ohio State's favored by 13.5. We both didn't give Penn State a chance to cover in this one. The score I went with was 56-17. I guess continuing last week's theme. If this was MSU, I wouldn't pick that score, if only because Urban Meyer seems to be in the mode of not running up the score, but trying to make a statement with JT Barrett, who is much improved. So I think Ohio State's going to rout them like they did a year ago in Columbus and not look back.
Yep. And, I wish I could say I feel bad for Penn State fans, but I don't.
All right. We've talked about that in the past. The closest line, we got 5 Big Ten games. 4 of them are double-digit spreads. The only one that's single digits is Minnesota traveling to Illinois and only getting 5.5 points, which is kind of surprising. I don't really have a score pick for this one, but I think Minnesota will win that one with ease and cover.
They're probably going to run for 500 yards.
Probably.
I really think this is just going to be a ridiculous rushing performance. And I don't know. I watch Minnesota, and it's like they just don't make any mistakes at all. They play very disciplined, very hard, tackle well, and not the most talent in the league, but I think Jerry Kill, if they keep this up, should be in consideration for Coach of the Year. And now I brought this up earlier in the year when we were going through the divisions. The West is still wide open, right? There's no one team that looks great. However, working against Minnesota here, I would actually like them in the division. If not for this, they finished the season hosting Ohio State, at Nebraska, at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So that's really, it's a pretty back-heavy schedule for the Fighting Gophers.
It's kind of the case for them last year too. They got off to a pretty good start and got ranked, and then.
Yeah.
But if you think there's a year that Minnesota will finally end the Paul Bunyan's axe streak, I would think this would seem to be their best chance, and Wisconsin doesn't seem all that great either.
No, they're gettable. We'll see. I think Minnesota probably wins this one by 2 touchdowns.
Now, speaking of Wisconsin, they host Maryland. Maryland's an interesting team. They've had some impressive offensive performances and then some complete duds. They beat Iowa last week. I think 38-31 was the final.
Yep.
They've had some quarterback issues. Wisconsin, I don't know. Their quarterback issue is a mess, but Melvin Gordon's racking up 10 yards a carry and seemingly can't be stopped until Wisconsin decides to stop him. I feel like this could be a bit of a shootout. It's got an over-under of 56.5. But Wisconsin by 10.5 at home against Maryland. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Wisconsin there. I think Maryland's kind of they're good enough to beat decent teams at home, but they're not good enough to go out and beat a decent team on the road. And so I don't know. I just haven't seen enough from their defense that leads me to believe they can have any chance of stopping the Badgers on the ground in this one.
Yeah, if C.J. Brown, the quarterback, was fully healthy, I might give him a bit of a better chance. But I think I'm going to have to take Wisconsin.
Yep.
With the 10.5, we're losing the 10.5 there. Last game is Nebraska hosting Rutgers. Nebraska getting 20 points, which is a whole hell of a lot of points.
I know. I can't believe that.
And, I mean, Rutgers is 5-2 coming off a 56-17 loss to Ohio State. But they've looked pretty good otherwise. Nebraska, they got they won at Northwestern.
They beat their last game before that Ohio State blowout was the Michigan game because they had a bye before that.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't understand that line at all. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Nebraska covered, but at the same time, I don't know. I think Rutgers' defense is good enough to where they can keep this at least a ball game for much of it. Well, I don't know. Nebraska can turn on the Jets in a hurry, too, like we saw last week. But I think Nebraska's gettable, and I think this will be a closer game.
Yeah, I think I got to take Rutgers getting 20 points. That's just a whole lot of points.
A lot of points.
For a noon game out in Nebraska.
Yeah. Over under 60. I think Rutgers' defense is actually pretty good.
I think last week's game against Ohio State really changed the perception of both teams. Even Nebraska's been getting a lot of love despite that really bad performance against MSU, the only top team they've played. So yeah, the West is wide open. I mean, it may not
be Wild West.
Be as good as the East, but it's certainly when the football's not terrible, it can be pretty interesting.
Yeah, kind of like the MAC.
Yeah. So we've covered pretty much everything here over 2 podcasts now. Dan, is there anything else you want to talk about?
That people want to listen to? I don't know.
Yeah.
There was who you got tonight? Chargers, Broncos. Chargers +9.
I'm not even going to be watching it. I'm going to be watching Virginia Tech versus I don't even know who they're playing. I think they're playing Miami.
Okay.
And there's also ECU, UConn. I'll probably be watching some college football. These
right.
Thursday night NFL games have been terrible.
They're not great. 2 weeks ago we got a good one. Indianapolis-Houston was good late. And last week was good too. The Jets made that late comeback and had a 2-point conversion to tie it. What's that?
But it was a surprise to see it close as it was. I don't know if I'd say it was a good game, but
I thought it was a good game.
Close.
Yeah, so we're probably due for a stinker after 2 close Thursday night games. But I don't know. I'm a sucker for the NFL, man. I just like to watch the best players in the world.
Let me see who Virginia Tech's playing. They're hosting Miami. That'll be interesting.
Okay, that'll be. What's that line?
By the time you all listen to this, these games will probably have been over. So. Maybe.
True. Probably don't need to break down the matchups there.
Yeah.
And you'll be in the stands on.
I will. I'm going to the game as a paying customer. My brother and I are going to go. Should be fun. I've only missed whether it's going to the game or covering. I've gone to. I was a freshman in 2007. That's when I started going. So the only one I missed was 2012, which was the one they lost.
Oh, I missed the 2008 game. The last one I attended was 2007. I missed the 2008 game because I got scheduled for work at the Lansing State Journal, even though I'd requested it off because I had tickets to go to the game. And all week I'm asking, hey, can you cover my shift? Can you cover my shift? I just keep getting shut down. I'm asking, a couple of the desk guys, hey guys, is there anything I can do? Like, do you really need me in here? I've got tickets. And they kept saying, yeah, well, I think we need you. Sorry, I know it sucks. And then I get in there, and it was like about halftime I got in there. And Mark Meyer, the old sports editor, nicest guy in the world, just looks at the schedule. Let's see, Dan, I thought you asked for today off. Oh, yeah, I did, but I was still on the schedule, and everyone said I had to come in. He said, oh, well, we don't really need you here, so you can get going if you want and enjoy the second half from home. Then I think I took off, all my friends were there, so I think I just hopped in my car and, listened to the second half on the radio and sped toward Ann Arbor and had a lot of fun that night.
At what point in the game did you get there?
Right as it was ending. I mean, I didn't actually get to the game. I just got to Ann Arbor where all my friends were, and we.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a little bit left in the game, I think.
How was that driving in during a game?
Empty. Nobody there. It was great.
Must have been great.
Because normally you're used to going in I'm always all right, I've learned my lesson. I'm going to get there 4 hours early this year.
I give myself 5 hours knowing it's going to take 2 hours.
You could leave 5 days before the game, and traffic would still start backing up off that exit once you're getting off 23. It's ridiculous. I've almost missed every game I've covered there. I end up I've learned you got to get off Main Street. You got to abandon that ship as soon as possible and just find some random side street.
I've learned to enter through Miller Road, which is kind of in the back end. Okay. But it's hard because Maine's really, for most people, the only way to get in there. That's why it's so much better getting into and out of a game in East Lansing, because you've got highways all intersecting everywhere and going out every which way. If you're going from Detroit, you can go 2 different ways too. It's just a great, easier setup, and it doesn't.
All right, here's a would you rather, and if you're tired of us by now, we're probably done talking about the game, so you can just turn us off at any time. But
we'll be done.
A quick would you rather? Would you rather try to leave Ann Arbor after a football game or leave DTE after a concert?
Ooh. I say football only because at least the car I'd be able to get post-game radio of the car. That's how I manage whatever sporting event I go to. I know it's going to be a long trek back, but at least you usually have a post-game radio show that kind of helps you deal with it. You don't really get that with concerts.
Yeah, no, I always feel like I'm gonna die in that DT parking lot before we get out of there. It's just a free for all. It's usually wet. There's no one directing.
Yeah, and the hills. I'm always worried my car's gonna slide down the hill.
Yeah, it's just every man for himself, and it's such a pain in the ass. So it has to be someone really, really good to get me to DTE these days.
Yeah, I don't even remember what was the last one I went there for. I went to last year I went to a comedy festival. A bunch of top comics were all there. Pretty good. I heard about it the day of and then ended up going. It was pretty good. I
did that with Leonard Skinner once. I got $5 lawn seats in 2004 and still felt like I overpaid.
I went to my brother and I went to Weird Al at Freedom Hill a year ago.
Yeah.
A
year ago?
Yeah, probably about a year ago.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I saw him probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know. And he did everything, and it was probably
a great show. It was an absolute
probably half full. He gives you everything he's got, and worth it. Good time.
I tell you, Weird Al does not take any plays off.
No, and he's kind of back a bit. He released that bunch of new songs. I really like the Grammar one. I don't know if you've heard it.
I have not.
You should take a listen after this. It's about people's poor grammar. It's pretty funny. You probably get a kick out of it.
All right, I'll write that down.
We good here?
I think that as long as we made sure we got to Weird Al, I think that about covers it.
All righty. He's Dan Kilbridge. I'm Chris Vanini. He's at MSU Dan K on Twitter. I'm at Chris Vanini again. Sign up for VIP 24/7 access. It's worth it. I think I've hit everything. I'm trying to get better on these intros. Usually I don't remember until the outros. So we'll talk to you next week after the bye. Take a listen to yesterday's podcast with Steve Lorenz if you want a more detailed breakdown of things from the Michigan side and how they expect to attack MSU. I highly recommend that. Thanks for listening, everybody, and continuing to listen to the Spartan Tailgate podcast. And we will talk to you guys next week. See you.
See ya.